it for my mitigation 101 here. Were there any questions? That's Cosmo, the king of my house.
If mitigation banks are the preference, why are they so onerous and lengthy to set up? And is there any effort, I know it's not just you guys because it's so many agencies involved, is there any effort to improve timelines and efficiencies and cost?
Yes, I mean, so obviously, I think what has certainly helped are putting together some of the templates. It reduces review times for us and time for you guys to put these documents together, because really it's fill in the blank. It's when they start to get modified is when it gets hard. I think, at least from what I've seen, a lot of the time frames are taken up by data gathering, and I think that's important though, because these are supposed to be held to a higher standard, and we need to make sure that these things are set up for success. And so sometimes it does take a little bit longer. I would say that the core itself also has some internal guidance and memos. Actually, I think they're public. Regals that have come out that talk about really trying to adhere to the timelines. I think, again, the question is, we're working with a lot of different agencies, and some of those agencies' timelines don't match up with our timeline. The MOU is set up so that everybody understands that the core has this timeline, but there's no guarantee that the other agencies meet it right. And obviously, this is why you're asking this question. So I would say that if the bank sponsor wants to move forward without other agencies, we certainly can do that. But the guidance that we have is that if they want to receive those credits, then we should try to work with that agency to get their comments addressed and make sure that the credits are available. Yeah.
Hi there.
Oh, Candy. Candy.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the times we are having to get permits from Department of Fish and Wildlife,
Yeah.
Regional Water Quality Control Board, and the Corps. And interestingly, the DFW and Regional Board, their order is on-site, permitting responsible on-site mitigation, off-site, and then mitigation bank. And ideally, we're doing one type of mitigation that satisfies all agencies. So we're not like, I say double dipping.
Double,
yeah. So is that, how does that, does that pose, could that pose challenges with the permitting process with the Corps?
I mean, it certainly could. But again, the preference hierarchy is not set in stone.
Okay.
So if you put together an analysis of the reasons why you're not adhering to that, and it's reasonable, I think that's something we would evaluate. So kind of project by project basis.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Candy.
Yeah, I'm going to give you this one first, even though you haven't asked your question yet.
Okay, see you later. All right,
Oh,
thanks.
you just wanted the candy. You're gonna sit
I
back down.
wanted candy. I see how it works. I see how it works here. But I would love to hear your thoughts, if not more formal opinions, about how does engineering with nature and nature-based features fit into both triggering compensatory mitigation or serving as, avoidance and minimization type of aspects to a project. Engineering with nature, a part of the Army Corps of Engineers in the San Francisco district. I don't really know yet how the regulatory branch views that as fitting into projects, and I'd just love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, it's kind of a new topic, right? At
Yeah.
least
Thank
from
you.
what I've seen. We've been internally having some kind of lunch meetings about it. I haven't had too many projects with it, but I think in the end, fill is fill. And if you're engineering with nature, I think that's a good way to minimize impacts. Maybe not necessarily reach the level of compensatory mitigation, I guess again, depending on what's being done. But at least some of the stuff that I've seen, it seems to be more minimization.
Yeah, I think some aspects, you're right, are working with nature to replicate processes that allow you to engineer less.
Yeah.
So that's avoiding and minimizing. And then there's some aspects, I think, of really doing nature-based feature that provides some ecological function.
Yeah.
Think of living shorelines type of
Yeah.
issues.
And with that kind of integrated into the project, you know, it could mean that we don't require mitigation, compensatory mitigation.
And those are thoughts, or those are official? No. I'm
Nah, just thoughts. Anything I say is unofficial unless it's on core letterhead.
I think I took a snapshot of one of those earlier. So.
But yeah, I think, you know, as we continue to work through this, you know, there'll probably be more internal guidance and guidance that gets out there.
And develop.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
very good. Thank you.
I'm curious if you can clarify for the permittee responsible mitigation. You said a lot of those aren't working out. Can you distinguish how many of the, like, are you talking about habitat restoration projects, or are you talking about other project types? Because I'd be curious in that permittee responsible mitigation,
Yeah.
if the habitat restoration
You know,
projects are showing increased function and service.
I think since the mitigation rule, certainly the PRM has gotten a lot better. I think the projects that I've evaluated pre-2008, permittee responsible mitigation, have not always been the best. And I think that just has to do with the amount of information that's required now. It requires, like I said, you know, a lot more background information. So if you're creating wetlands or establishing wetlands in areas that previously did not have them, there's more data that's provided to us, and you know, we know to get in order to ensure that there'll be success. So I think while there still is value in those PRM, and probably more successful now since the mitigation rule, I think they're not as ecologically valuable as a mitigation in size or in connectivity, right?
And like, I'm really a newbie here, so I kind of don't know what I'm talking about. But again, I didn't hear though the clarification of project type. Like, if a habitat restoration project shows improved function and service by doing their own mitigation requirements, can they like be kind of clarified as a different?
So you're talking about restoration projects and permitting them.
Right.
So do
I
they
understand you still have to
Gotcha. So-
mitigate if you can't avoid.
Well, it depends.
like-
So the Corps has different regulations than everybody else, I know, requirements. But there is a nationwide permit for aquatic resource, you know, habitat restoration. And that doesn't necessarily require compensatory mitigation, that type of project with that purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wait, don't sit down.
Yeah, there's a lot of candy.
You can see what you're asking. All right, any other questions for Brian?
I'll be around after too, so
You're going to stay?
you for a little bit, yeah, probably.
All right, thanks, Brian. So I think we have a couple minutes for general questions. If anybody has a general question for our illustrious chiefs who are both here from North Branch and South Branch, we can, illustrious, have them come up to the stage and you can ask them questions, throw tomatoes, combination of the two. Oh.
That's the end of our wrap-up, right? So yeah, so if anyone has come up with any questions, that they kind of thought up of over cookies and caffeine, please feel free to, bark them out right now. If you have any comments, stories, good jokes, we're happy to hear them. We have a few minutes for open mic night, so if you want to participate in anything. But, hello.
Hi, I have a couple of questions. This one was reference to what Sarah said earlier, that this workshop would not cover the 2025 final rule. Fine. Do we have a timeline of when we expect it?
There is no timeline at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
That is the official answer that I'm supposed to give.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you. And then my second question, a little bit easier to answer, I hope. If we're not sure, like there's reasons for and against whether we should get a PJD or an AJD, how do we find out which ones you guys prefer, the PM would prefer, before we submit an RRS and then before we know who the PM will be?
PJD.
Just
'Cause they're
default to
usually-
PJD.
Yeah, usually they're much easier to complete. Unless, like, as Sarah said, if it's obviously that you're going to be proposing a PJD on a project that's isolated, then we have to default to an AJD. But all in all, if you have to have a JD, because it's like an individual permit, then we do prefer the PJD just because the level of effort that you have to do and we have to do is much less on those.
Okay, thank you.
Do you agree, Will?
Yeah, I would agree. But, keep in mind that at the end of the day, it's going to be whichever product services your needs better, right? I mean, obviously we don't want to overwork our PMs, but we do pay them. So, at the end of the day, they have to do their job. Then that's okay. And if you don't know which one beforehand, that's okay to just kind of put it in there that, hey, you want a JD, pick whichever one you want, and then just kind of put in the comments that we're not entirely clear what we need and we want to speak to a PM about really refining the ask so we can get the best product for the least amount of effort.
Cool, thank you.
I will say that people have opted for the PJD because it serves the purpose of knowing what the aquatic resources are, regardless of what the current definition of waters of the U.S. is. And then the other point that I wanted to make is that whether we issue a PJD or an AJD, we try to always send a copy of them to the water board, so they also have a copy of what we have determined are the aquatic resources on a site.
Just want to thank you for this good overview and ask, with the issuance of the new nationwide permits, I believe there have been some beneficial changes to nationwide permit 27 for aquatic habitat restoration. And if you could explain whether those affect habitat type conversion and a reduction in information resources required, that would help applicants get through that process at less cost and faster. Maybe that would be helpful. Thanks.
I'm going to bring up Caroline. So Caroline worked on the nationwide permit renewal, and she will speak to this much better than I can.
So I have read all of those so many times that the words have blurred together. So I'm going to ask that you email me. I'm very sorry, but I have read all of those permits and all of the public comments for all of the public notices. And there's a lot of words in my head. Sorry. Sorry.
So I think when you
Can I just say
email-
one thing about that 27?
Go for it.
It's the first half of what, I can answer the first half because I was just looking at it this afternoon. For when there's a conversion of habitat in your restoration project, so you have maybe some little crappy diked marsh and you're opening it to tidal inundation, then you're going to have to cut some channels in there. So you're converting wetland to waterways. That is now something you can do in 27, or it's no longer prohibited under Nationwide 27, as long as you can show ecological uplift as a result. Does that help? Is that kind of answering your question? Yeah, good. And come to the Brit if you have a project along the San Francisco Bay that is a multi-benefit restoration project.
Any other questions, general questions?
I think he deserves candy.
Oh, Brian?
Back to Jen.
Where'd you go?
All right. Right at 3 o'clock?
Yep.
So go ahead and want to wrap it up?
All right, so I think we're like right on time at 3 o'clock, so we are going to call it a day. I want to thank everybody for coming. It's really good to see everybody in person, not pixelated behind a screen. And let us know what worked, what didn't work, and your thoughts on today's program. And we will have the slides up on our website. And if you have any other suggestions, please let us know. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you. You know, and as we're getting ready to file out, one final reminder for the meeting feedback. You know, we would love to hear what you thought about the session. Give us 5 stars on Yelp, and leave it in the front. You know, thank you to all the PMs. You know, they did a tremendous amount of work up here presenting. Most of these people are not, you know, when you're a biologist, you're not exactly, a salesperson. You're not up here wanting to go sit in front of a crowd and talk. So, but they did a wonderful job. Some people are salesmen, but they did an absolute wonderful job up there. You know, most of these slides are bespoke. They made them, they practiced them. Thank you for Creative Marketing for setting this all up. So we have an operational, you know, the mics, everything's running smoothly. Hopefully they will beautify me on YouTube before they go out. And thank you, State of California, for not having Wi-Fi. All right, thank you, everybody.